way you do anything is the way you do everything. Like
Right.
if I'm going up, I'm going to do it 100%, whether that's with my kids, my family, my business partners. Like I'm all in. So like 100.co, 100%. I'm 100% committed to the success of it. And I think having that mindset all the time, but it's also knowing what you can't do, right? So there's a lot of things that you can't say yes to everything. And I think knowing that and having those boundaries is really important.
Check it out.
This is David Chen. You're on another edition of New York Weekly's #1 podcast for 2020, Pananomics. And today we have the multi-talented humanitarian, started hundreds of businesses, best-selling author, cool human being, and worth a little bit over $250 million, the one and only Kim Perell. How you doing?
What an intro. Thanks, my friend. Great to be here.
I am so excited to have you on. I kind of want to talk a little bit of how we met and what my impression was. I've never told you this. So here I am standing with Meltzer, our good buddy, Mamula and Moreno. It's the first time I met some of these guys because of the pandemic. And I look over in the corner and I see the statuesque, almost like goddess, super nice, super friendly, but you could tell she was an important person in the room. And I'm telling you this truth. And I look over and I go, Mike, who's that over there? And he goes, that's Kim. I'm like, Mike, I don't think I was introduced in the last conversation, man. Which Kim is it? He tells me a story. And they start off with how nice and how authentic of a human being you are.
Aww.
And the finance part, like went in very, very, very in the end. But I was so amazed at how humble and nice and willing to help you were, which just goes and proves that if you do nice things and meet nice people, then nice things can come back. So I just want to tell you how amazing your impression was. It was so lasting, and I'm so excited to have you on here. You have some big things going on. Tell us a little bit of what you got coming on.
I do. I have so many big things, and it's exciting. And honestly, my first impression of you on the same wavelength was just such an incredible visionary and your ambition and love of people. So I just really loved spending time with you. And it's like, when you just click. So we just clicked, and it was awesome to be, just to be connected. And I feel really blessed to have that relationship because life is all about relationships. And so I've got a lot of going on. I have a new book coming out, which is so exciting. It's called Jump, Dare to Do What Scares You in Business and Life. And it's really just focused on helping anyone who wants to make a big life change, do it, and give the playbook of how to do it. Because I think it's like a lot of people are probably sitting there listening and saying, I want to hear about, I have these ideas and I have a vision. I know what I want my life to look like, but then they really get stuck in how to do it. Okay, great. Well, how do I make that jump? And the book really outlines a playbook of how to completely change your life in 1 year.
That's so amazing. And I think your successes detail that because you said 1 year. Now, this is important. A lot of people, and I love your social media, as you know, I've been following you since we've become friends. And a lot of people, when they're sitting out in the world, they're almost getting it the wrong way from certain people. And I won't even say the people, but they're like, you buy this and we're going to get it done and we'll teach you in 2-3 weeks. And I'm like, listen, if you can learn how to make that much money in 3 weeks, I will become a student. And so will Warren Buffett and anyone else in this world. I love that you did this 1 year because success takes time, right? And it takes a lot of hard work. Tell me some of the reasons on why people don't jump and some of the reasons that your book makes them want to jump so that they can feel the self-esteem and confidence for that success.
Yeah, I think when I look at the type of jumper, so I classify them, it's like you're taking a survival jump, which is the first jump I took when my first company went bankrupt. And it's just like an emergency exit. You have no choice and you've got to do something. There's an opportunity jumper who sees a business opportunity or new job and they actively try to apply for it. And then there's pretty much 80% of everyone else who's like a stagnant jumper. They're just plateaued. They're bored. They don't like their job. They're stuck. They're unhappy and they want to make a change. And that's really who I wrote the book for, because it's time to make a change. You just have to have that courage. And I think to your point, what are the types of reasons people tell you that they can't do it? And honestly, every reason to me, you have a choice. You have a choice of what you want to do. You might not like making that choice and the outcomes or what you have to give up in order to have and make that choice, but you do have a choice. So I think that's a massive lie people tell themselves. It's like, I don't have a choice. I have to work at this job. That's just a lie. You don't. You can make. But there's all these fears that come up, and I get it. Like there's self-doubt and there's fear of failure. There's fear of not making, there's fear of success. There's so many fears that just trap you in your mind and why you don't make that leap. And so I give a lot of great tools, exercises, and, just ideas of how I learned to, I hit rock bottom and I was able to get back up and start again. And I think it's like lessons that I've learned about having hit, having been bankrupt and broke and, not knowing what I was going to do next, which I think a lot of people find themselves in, like, what do you do next? And how do you, dust yourself off and get the courage to get back up? And I think that's what the book really outlines in a step-by-step way that's easy. And I do think, to your point, 1 year, it seems like a long time, but it's not. And if you really want to but I do think, this crazy 18 months that we've had has been so hard for so many people. And you can make an incomplete life change in 1 year if you have the right plan of action. So it's like you wouldn't go to a forest without a map. You would not change your life without a plan. And I'm here to give you that plan.
I love what you're doing and what you're saying because there's so much authenticity and realism that comes from there. Everybody fails and it sucks and it's scary, but it's even harder when you talk about the bankruptcy side or the failure side, because it takes such a mental, spiritual, emotional, and then physical toll on you. And when we were at our worst moments in our lives, it's such a dark cloud and you almost want to hide and disappear and you don't feel like you're worthy of another chance. And for me, the hardest thing in any business ever was I failed the people that believed in me, the teams, the investors, but I also failed myself. You took some real galls to come back up and make it. Tell us a little about that story because it's such an amazing story to hear.
I think for me, my parents are both entrepreneurs. So I was like, I do not want to be an entrepreneur because it's a roller coaster every day. Right? Like you don't know what's going to happen. I've seen it and I watch them go through it. And I'm like, I'm going to get a real job, right? Like I'm a real one that's got security and like I don't have to worry about the ups and downs. The naive part of me thought that. So I went and got a job and it was for a great internet company that raised, hundreds of millions of dollars. And it was like being on a rocket ship. It was amazing, right? And to be young and to be part of this experience was so like such a great lesson, I guess, because it also taught me that there is no security, whether I work for someone else or I work for myself. That was just a lie. And again, something you hear, but it's not true. Like the only true bet that you could ever make is the bet on yourself. And, and you don't know how that's going to turn out, but at least you're in control of your own destiny. I think when my company went bankrupt and I was laid off, and to your point, I had to lay off so many people that believed in me and I sold them on this journey that we were going to go on together. We were all going to be millionaires. And then I had to lay them all off. And honestly, many which didn't talk to me for years. And I just felt like a complete failure, right? And you just want to go to bed and put the covers over your head and just call it a day and just, you don't know how you're going to, get up and keep moving. But I think hitting rock bottom makes you realize what you really want, right? And it's a great place, solid foundation to jump from because you're already at the bottom. And I think being there, you're like, okay, well, what's the worst that can happen? Because I already had the worst it already happened, right? Like in a moment, my identity was lost, my job was lost, my future was lost. Like everything I thought was going to be, how I mapped it out in my head, I built this entire ladder that I was going to climb and it just completely vanished in an instant. And I think a lot of people are in the same position. They find themselves in this place and then it's really like, what do you do when you hit that place? Like, what's the next step? And like, how do you just overcome all those doubts in your head to do something, to do whatever it is you want? And I chose to take the leap into entrepreneurship. So I was like, hey, and everyone told me I was crazy. They're like, Kim, bad idea. Obviously so many, my track record of bankruptcy, not so good. And so why would anyone make a bet on me? Why would I even bet on myself? They're like, just get a real job. I was like, I had a real job. Again, this is not a real job. I don't even understand what that means anymore. But again, it goes to making a bet on yourself. And I had my grandma actually made a bet on me. And I think that's why I'm really passionate about entrepreneurship, is because someone made a bet on me really early on when I probably wasn't, a good bet to make in many people's eyes. And so I really believe in paying that forward. And I want to make that bet on other individuals and other entrepreneurs that have that dream, right? And they just need a little hand up. And so I think it's really important to me, and just why I'm an angel investor in so many companies.
It's such a beautiful story. And let me ask you a question. There was this one moment, I know it's happened to me, it happens to everybody. When you have to, it was like this, right? That you were like, I'm picking myself up and I'm moving forward. What was the moment that made you sit there and say, I have enough of this crap. I am a badass. I am Kim. I'm going to make this. What was that one thing that snapped and then all of a sudden you went full forward again?
I mean, honestly, I think after, sitting alone in my bedroom for some amount of time, it was just, you have to make a decision. How long can you really do that for? And the thought of just standing still and doing nothing, that risk was far scarier than trying again for me. It wasn't an option. So, there's different paths I could take, but I just believed in the opportunity. I mean, this was before the internet is what it is today. So it was just an opportunity that I just believed would continue to grow, which it did. So sometimes when everyone's calling you, it's interesting because you see a lot of these crazes happening now, but you have to believe and just make your own bets regardless of what anyone else says, because usually that's it's a reflection of their self-beliefs, not yours. So if they're telling you that it's not a good idea and it's risky, because in their mind it is risky and it's probably not a good idea, which is okay. But in your mind, what do you think? And having that belief in yourself has to be greater than everyone else's doubt.
That is such a beautiful thing. Belief in yourself is probably the hardest thing to accumulate through time, but it's probably the best thing, because I always tell people, if you don't believe in yourself, who the hell's ever going to believe in you, right? So that's an amazing thing that you've done that. And kudos to your grandmother and our grandparents, who probably came from very different environments, and they had to make it through things that are probably much more difficult than we can understand. But I can see the love and the vision and that they gave to you, and now that you through them is giving out through the world. And so I want to kudos them as well, because it's such an amazing thing. So thank you. You talk about as a female entrepreneur, which I hate using the word female because I just think you're a badass in general, and everyone should be like that. You're also an amazing proud mom of 4. And I love that you love talking about your family and children, right? It's such an amazing thing. How do you balance family and business and all these amazing things to be truly happy? Because we all know money really doesn't buy all the happiness in the world. You have to have a good balanced life.
Yeah, for me, family's really important to me, and I grew up in a big family, so that was always a goal, probably the biggest goal of mine. It wasn't to start companies, it was really just to have an amazing family. And I think for me, the prioritization of family, I schedule everything to the minute. Just as I schedule a meeting, I'm scheduling time with my kids. I'm just an ultimate multitasker and scheduler. And since I have 2 sets of twins, they're 2 and 7. Wow. It's serious. You have to schedule. Everyone's on the same schedule around here. It makes a huge difference, but I'm just a huge believer in the schedule. It sounds crazy, but when you have that many people that young, you gotta maintain that focus.
I love that. As you're jumping, the 100.co that you have in different companies and TV and books and everything else, the scheduling, obviously you have to keep and maintain while still running a family. People don't forget that you are a mom, and you're a mom of 4, like you said, 2 sets of twins, which is, by the way, the coolest thing I've ever heard. But I love that you wrote on one of your posts, you said, not every day is a good day. Show up anyway. That to me is absolutely true as a parent, right? That doesn't matter. You got to show up anyways. But you put that in life, but you've balanced it so well. So when you're doing that, is that general motivation that no matter what it is, we got to show up every day and make it work?
Yeah, if you're doing it, you might as get, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Like if
Right.
I'm showing up, I'm going to do it 100%, whether that's with my kids, my family, my business partners, like I'm all in. So like 100.co, 100%, I'm 100% committed to the success of it. And I think having that mindset all the time, but it's also knowing what you can't do, right? So there's a lot of things that you can't say yes to everything. And I think knowing that and having those boundaries is really important.
I love the 100.co. You have two people that I love dearly. One is Jay, the other one is his beautiful wife, right? And you're talking about what Roddy has and Sama, and that is part of 100.co. And I'm looking at it, and it's an AI brand. You talk a little about that and how that's so different from everyone else and how unique it is.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I mean, I've spent 20 years in marketing technology, spending and marketing the biggest brands in the world. And so as I stepped down from one venture, I thought, I've been on one side of it. I wanted to, go all the way from research all the way to retail. So it's a new skill for me too, which is I'm actually going to create products, but using technology, using artificial intelligence to create the products from the ground up. So whether that be the formulas, whether that be the packaging, the product, the price point, it's really about de-risking and ensuring success in market. And I really, I love Sama because they're such purpose-driven founders and it's so authentic to them. So, for them being able to also use technology to ensure the success of their brand, like why wouldn't you? I think it's a tool in your toolkit that will help ensure that the brand has, longevity, because we're really looking at a very long future. And I'm so excited about it. And they're such incredible individuals. I just couldn't be more proud to partner with them.
I love hearing that. There's two ends of the spectrum when you talk about AI, and for people to understand it, it is a very, if you want to talk about the Terminator side, a very scary thing. And if you want to talk about a business side, with great power comes great responsibility going from there. But the one thing I tell a lot of people is if good leaders who are abundant in giving and love have this power and guide it in the right way, that will overcome people that are not good, that won't do it the right way, right? So when I see you and Jay and Roddy doing the things to you like that, that is a kudos to you guys, because that is what the world needs, right? It's not just buying it and making it and selling it and harming the rest of the world. That's almost unnecessary, right? It's to really kind of go from there. So I love that you guys are doing that, and it's so amazing in all the platforms that you have.
Right? It's about doing tea differently. So it's about community. There's like monthly tea parties with Jay and Roddy. It's just a different way to interact and have an immersive experience with a brand, which I think is so important in today's day and age. We're so disconnected. I mean, I love tea. I'm obsessed with our chai tea specifically. So yes, I'll send you some, but it's amazing. And I just feel so, for me, doing something you're so passionate about is really it's key to success, right?
I love it. It really is. As you're an angel investor and you're investing in some companies and you're working through there, what particular traits are you looking for when it comes to the individual? I'll do that one first, and then we'll talk about the company.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think of angel investing. This is early stage. This is before revenue, just pre-stage, when really you're betting on big market opportunity and the person. And from a person, like a people perspective, I mean, people bet on people. So you're looking for an individual that has this vision, this crystal clear picture of what they want to create. And it's so clear in their mind, doesn't matter what anyone else can see. And also you're looking for the passion. And I don't just mean passion, like I love it, but passion's a Latin root word of pain or suffering. It's like, what are you willing to suffer for? Like, are you going to work late nights? Are you going to work the weekends? Are you going to work any time to make that vision a success? Because that's what it's going to require you to do as an early stage entrepreneur. And then just really understanding like the leadership traits of the individual, because no one is successful alone. You're going to have to hire a great team. And what does that look like to you? And are you able to lead? Because I think in order to be successful, you'll have to hire a lot of great people. And that's a key leadership trait, which is those relationships, right? Hopefully I look for people I love that can draw on past experiences, draw on past jobs, that have those relationships, that it's easy to, create that team.
I love that. I think that is so powerful and empowering in so many ways, because it really does create that team. And that's important. When people talk about how you're trying to create the team and the passion and the voyage that you're trying to do, right? There are certain entrepreneurs that their vision not necessarily matches their business plan and their experiences and going from there. How do you tell someone that they need to be able to match them both without hurting their feelings? Or is it just business? Or is that just a problem? And that is why I wouldn't invest in you, because you can't get over your feelings.
I think it's important to be honest, right? If you're an early stage entrepreneur or you're an investor, hopefully you're looking for feedback, and feedback's a gift. So if I can help you, maybe, and I don't invest in, a lot of businesses, but I'm hoping I can at least tell you why. Like why, usually I invest in companies that are using technology just because that's my background. So hopefully you'll find someone that has an equal experience or advice in their own lane, right? Like, so I think that's really important. It's just because someone says no doesn't mean it's not a good idea. It just means you haven't found the right either A, investor, or B, like the opportunity is not right. So you have to refine your pitch and your go-to-market.
I love that, and clearly, you're talking about, you've had some major deals, and you're sitting here, you see Amobee, you see Turn, right? You see these companies. Tell me a little bit on that, because you're talking about mass numbers, $310 million, $100 million. Tell me a little bit about how you set that up. And the first time you heard that you were going to get this big buy, what was going through your mind?
Oh my gosh. So the first company, it's interesting because you don't even know what you don't know until someone else tells you. So I think that's like always something to learn. Like,
I love that.
Right? You don't even know. So when I sold my first company, I was at, breakfast with someone. They're like, oh, I'm selling my company. I'm like, oh, maybe I should sell mine. Not even thinking that I never built to sell. I just built to have a great business. And again, if you build a great business, there'll always be a buyer. So I think that's really important. I was building a business just because I wanted to own I want to be in control of my own destiny and be in control of my life. So again, if you build a great business, not to sell, but actually to create jobs and to create cash flow and to create opportunity, there'll always be a buyer. And then moving on to the buyer, when someone else shows you, you can't see what you can't see. So when someone, my friend was like, oh, I sold, I'm like, I think I could sell. And so then I went through a sales process. I hired KPMG on my first deal, and we ran a process. I didn't even have a business plan, so I kind of had to create it on the before selling, as opposed to create it before I created the business. So, because I never had any investors but my grandma, so she doesn't really care if I had a business plan or not. So it's interesting, the road to entrepreneurship. I really just knew I had to create a business that was viable and had long-term sustainability. And so then I went through the process, which was a fun journey, and I loved the sales process. And I can remember I was in Vegas when it finally, the first deal I ever did, it finally went through. And I went to the ATM, and like there wasn't enough numbers on the little thing that they print out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It was like one of those moments where you're like, your life just changed. So
I love that. And I want to talk about two things, because this is really important. You talk about your grandma. And I want to hear a little bit more about this, if you don't mind, how she invested in you, not financially, but also emotionally. Tell me about that experience, because I want to say something after that I see, but I'd just love for you to hear about that first.
Oh, no. And I called her. I was like, Grandma, I got this great idea for this, internet company. She's like, what's the internet? I'm like, okay.
Oh, what an amazing grandma.
I know, yes. But that was many years ago. And she had an AOL account. So we kind of tried to, and eventually she was just like, you know what, it doesn't matter what the business is. I just believe in you. And if this is what you need money to do, and she gave me $10,000, and I was like, it's basically all I had. So, but I believed there's never, at that point, I can remember starting the company. It was far easier to start a company now than when I first started. So for anyone out there looking to become an entrepreneur, like, it's time to take the leap. But, that belief goes a long way. And I think just knowing she's in your corner, knowing she believes and she was there, and kind of like that support system, I think you cannot undervalue like how much of an impact that made in my life.
That's so beautiful, because this leads to my second part of my thought process is she ingrained with you such values and principles, but also helping people, because you remember what that 10,000 came from grandma. And you remember the only person that believed in you, and she didn't even know what it was. It was just you. And then you took her love and her compassion and an homage to her, and you started helping so many people in this world. So even though you're closing these $250, $300 million projects, you went from helping more people than you went from just splurging and being silly about it. Tell me about that journey and why that was the right path for you.
I think to the point of just, I love to create, and I wanted to really, I really want to pay it forward, because not everyone has a grandma that's going to loan them $10,000. That's a lot of money. So if I can be that support system, especially offering, I mean, I have 20 years of operational expertise in buying, starting, selling companies from 0 to $1 billion. Like I have so much experience to give, and I really want to help the next generation, because you just believe that if someone can make that bet on you, and someone's at their kitchen and someone's willing to do what it takes in order to create, then we should give them a shot.
I love that. That's such a beautiful thing, and it gives hope, and it instills a core value that other people will help. And so did my parents, right? My parents and my grandparents gave me a shot from the restaurant business as immigrants to kind of do all the things that we're still trying to do and make it work. And it's been such a great journey. But you do have that one person that can really kind of just give you the oomph and the continuing kick. And I love that about you. You know, as you're doing all of these amazing things, was there any time you thought to yourself, this is enough, I don't want to do this anymore? And then what made you obviously switch and go, you know what, I still got to get this done?
I mean, I think when I stepped down as CEO for my last company, right at the start of the pandemic, actually, I was like, I'm just going to take a beat and, just do some self-reflections, hang out with the family. And, obviously the pandemic hit. And then there's something in you that cannot help it. Like, I'm sure many people out there listening to this, there's like an itch that you can't scratch. No matter what you do, it's just like, it's there. It's like this drumbeat that gets louder and louder the more you don't do anything, right? And so eventually just jump back in, because it's part of you. It's like, it's part of me to want to create and to want to help and to want to, that's why I wrote this book, is because there's so many people it's hard to get information. It's easy to learn from experiences. And I love reading. And so if I can give that same gift to all the authors that have written something that's been so impactful for me, like, why wouldn't I help everyone skip the line, right?
I love it. And see, you just said something important. You said skip the line. And a lot of people, I think, you talk about my life, like coming out of the country, homeless and eating bugs and not finishing college. And now I teach out of college, and I still haven't finished college. But a lot of people don't realize there's ways to work around things. You don't have to necessarily have to have everything perfect, which is why the purpose of the book Jump makes so much more sense, because there's ways to mod and work around that, right? So have you had a moment like that where you're like, this is how I can jump and this is how I can mod it without following traditional methods?
Oh my gosh. I
think plenty of them, David.
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest thing is I'm never ready. Like, I wasn't ready to start my first company, but I did. And I wasn't ready to buy my first house, or I wasn't ready to have my first set of twins. I mean, or my second, like, you're never ready, right? So how do you feel that fear and just do it anyway with the confidence to know that you'll land on your feet, right? Right. And I think that's really important, because so many people are thinking, what if this, all these things happen, right? What if I fail, or what if or I don't have enough money, or I do not have enough time? You can tell me all of your excuses, but they're just excuses that, again, you have a choice. Like, you're the CEO of your own life. You can make the choice. If you don't want to, and I look at people, I look at what you're doing. It's just, you have to have the courage to make the choice to make a change. And so I think that's hard. And I get it. Like, making all these jumps is very difficult. But I also think, there's no comfort in in staying stale, right? Like in just staying at where you are. I mean, there's the fun happens when you get out of where you are and start doing things outside of your comfort zone.
Like you said, no goal was ever met without a little sweat, right? So I love that's what it is. You have to work for it. You have to make it amazing, and it really has to make sense. Kim, I want to show everybody how amazing this is. You've made me a complete believer. I'm going to share my screen mic for 2 seconds. This is an example of how much I believe in what you're saying, where you're going from there. We'll pull the screen real quick. I just bought 2 books, one for me and my fiance, of your book, because you're such an amazing energy. Your chi is so on point. You're such a good human being. I know that the people we're around don't hang out with bad human beings. So this book, I am so excited to read it. That is such an amazing thing. You know, if you have to give, as we're wrapping this up, one piece of advice to anyone out there, what would that piece of advice be for them to succeed?
To succeed?
Or a piece of advice in general?
I mean, I think for me right now, like the piece of advice I'd give anyone that's just thinking I need to make a change, and there's whatever the fear is, it's like, feel that fear and just do it anyway. Like, you'll never be a right time. Like, I've lost everything. I've been bankrupt. I've been broke. Like, I've done it. I've started my kitchen table. I worked there for 3 years. Like, if I can do it, you can do it too. So just do it. Like, let's go.
Right. I love it. If you can do it, if I can do it, you can do it too. And that is why I tell everyone, and I think that's so weird, because there's some fundamental things that we've had on this show, and I'll tell you what it is. Doesn't matter what walk of life they are, what they believe in. Everyone is gracious, everyone is helping, everyone is humble, and everyone believes that you just have to do it. And there just isn't a choice. I tell people, I don't have a choice to you, and the answer is no. So we got to get it done. You're such an amazing person, Kim. Thank you. Give us your websites and your social media handles so people can follow you and your amazing advice and journey.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So if you're ready to take that life-changing leap, go to jumpwithkim.com. You'll get a great download, which is a bonus plan. It goes 1 year, month by month, to help you make that life-changing decision that you want. And like, I'm here to walk you through it. There's amazing bonus material. And really, like, I'm just here to support you. So please follow on social media or anywhere, kimperell.com. I'm just, I'm so thrilled to be here and so grateful for the opportunity, and hope I can help many people take that leap.
You absolutely will. You're giving from your grandma, and the gift that will keep on giving, help so many people. Kim, thank you so much for your time. We know you're super busy helping. We appreciate all your efforts. Go get the book, Jump. Guys, I'm going to read it. I'm going to tell my audience what I think about it. I guarantee it's going to be a banger. It's going to be amazing. Kim, thank you so much for your time. For David Chin, Kim Perell, New York Believe's #1 podcast for 2020, Pananomics. Be safe, be compassionate, be loving, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Check it out.